Hello, second graders, from the Arthur R. Marshall Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge. I'm Ranger Serena, and today we're going to be talking about scientists, and scientists specifically in the Everglades. And I'm going to be showing you some tools that some of the different scientists that work out here actually use. Some of those tools you'll be using today in your lesson, okay? And as we are out in the Everglades, you're going to hear a lot of different sounds. Right now I hear a plane going overhead, so we'll wait until it goes. There it is right behind the camera. So, but we might hear some bird calls. We might hear a frog or two. So bear with me and let's get started. So oftentimes, when scientists are working out in the Everglades, we might have to use something like this. And these are chest waders. And these are mine, and I've worn them many a time because oftentimes we might have to walk in the water. And our uniform and our boots, we don't want to get them too dirty. Okay, so an easy way to do that is to wear waders. Now I will say one thing about waders is they get awful hot. And so since we're in South Florida, you tend to sweat a lot. So anyway, but these are chest waders. We used to take water samples out in the interior. And when I talk about the interior, just picture an egg shape. And that's what the refuge looks like on a map. And the refuge is actually 145,189 acres in size. That's a huge area, huge. And so oftentimes we will have to go, we can actually drive airboats out there. Also use helicopters. Because we're a wetland full of water. Okay, a lot of other things, a lot of other types of habitats, but the Everglades is absolutely full of water. It's a wetland. So we used to have to take samples of water, and we would have to use a helicopter to fly into the interior. I'm going to show you the suit that I actually used to wear. This is called a Nomex suit. Nomex because it's fire retardant, okay? It means that it will not catch fire. And I wouldn't have my hat on today, but I would wear an actual flight helmet. And this flight helmet actually has a microphone. It would be hooked up to the helicopter so I could hear the pilot. And I had to wear gloves because everything has to be fire retardant. And I don't want to scare you, but what that means is, in case the helicopter crashed, I might be protected so that I wouldn't catch on fire. So we would go out there and we would fly out there and land at different spots. And I actually had the flight suit on. That's what we call that suit, the flight suit that's fire retardant, the Nomex flight suit. And then I had my waders on top of that because I had to get out of the helicopter and start to walk away because I used to collect water in this. This is called a liter bottle that most scientists around the world take their measurements in metric. They don't take them in inches and feet like we do here in the United States. They take them in the metric system in order to know how deep we were. And this is a metric measuring stick. This actually has centimeters and meters on it, and so you can see the markings. This is not to be able to help us, to get our footing, but to actually measure how deep the water is. Okay, and it has this little float on here so it wouldn't flow away or float away. Okay, so one of the things we used to go out and do is not just collect water, but we would also take measurements. And this is the computer we would use, and this is called a sonde. And this sonde has different probes so that each one of these is a different type of a measurement. One is for temperature, one is for pH. These little probes cannot get dry. So that's why you see water. And also, let me tell you that I can't connect them because they would be connected by a wire, and I don't have the wire today with me. But everything, these little probes cannot get wet, so every time we would use it, we would have to take this off, this little cap off, make sure that there's water in it, and then this side is the side that we would actually put into the water, so that water would go right into it. This end would go into the water to start to measure. And then we would take field notes about what we were trying to connect, or what we were trying to measure. It's all about taking proper notes and being consistent in your notes. And that's one thing we're going to be doing a little bit later on today as well, is starting to take some field notes. Okay? And speaking of that, one of the things that scientists always do, whether you're I'm trying to think of some of the different scientists that work out here. We have hydrologists, we have biologists, we have ecologists, and they all study a different thing. And we're going to learn about some of those a little bit later today when we're back in the classroom. But one of the things that scientists do is they always take the temperature. Now you notice that I have my hat on today because it's a beautiful sunny day. It's probably about 85, 86 degrees. I don't know, but there's a few clouds in the sky, and we would be marking all these things on our data sheet. And so we would actually take it using a thermometer. And because this is kind of small, I thought I would just show you a larger thermometer markings. Now thermometers mostly come in the United States, we mostly read Fahrenheit. But remember what I just said a little bit ago? Most scientists use the metric system. So the other type of temperature reading in other parts of the world is called Celsius. So that starts with a C and Fahrenheit starts with an F. So what you would do if you saw any type of an actual thermometer, you're going to look for either an F right here or a C. Let me bring this closer. Or a C. And then you're going to decide what it is. Mostly when we're doing science, we're going to study in the Celsius, the C, on the C side of the thermometer, okay? So we're going to ask you to take temperature today. Now what I'd like to actually show you is some of the things that scientists might study. Now starting from the ground and below the ground, those folks are called geologists, and they actually study rocks. And I have here, this is limestone. I'm going to bring it up close so you can see. This is limestone. It's underneath all of the Everglades. It's really very porous, and it looks like it could be coral. Another type of, on top of the limestone, is actually some really gooey stuff. And I've got it in plastic bags because it sort of looks like mud. And it isn't really. This is called peat. That's P-E-A-T. And peat is a bunch of the plants out here when it starts to decompose. So, and if I went to take my hand and bring it up, you would be able to see that it's all gushy and looks like it's muddy, but it's actually a bunch of different vegetation, different plant materials, all decomposing. It's very, very good for the Everglades. And speaking of plants, you notice that out in the far distance, you see cypress trees. Those are a tree that's in the Everglades. We actually have a cypress swamp here at the Arthur R. Marshall Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge. And those are a very different kind of tree. We're not going to be in the cypress swamp today, but most of their life, the cypress tree has to be in water. But right behind me, you notice that this actually looks like it could be both a slough and a wet prairie. And those are two different kinds of habitats that you'll find here at the refuge and in the Everglades. A slough is the deepest portion of the Everglades, and a wet prairie sort of looks like the grass field at school, but if you were to walk into it, walk on it, you might go up to, say, your knees, a little bit below in water. So a slough, I could go up to my waist or up to my mid-chest in water if I walked into a slough. So now I want to show you, I'm going to show you some different animals, different parts of animals. So the first thing I want to show you is what we call, does anybody know what this is? If you look right through it. This is actually called, this is a turtle shell. Yep, you were right. It's a turtle shell, but in science language, we call it a carapace. And that's what a turtle's shell is. It's all made of that. And there's little designs on the front side of it, and as well as the back side. I'll show you this for a minute, and then I'll show you the front side. And you can see the different designs on the carapace. So this was actually a box turtle. Has the tail on it, right? And this tail lets me know that this was an alligator snapping turtle. Alligator snapping turtle. Here's the little, here's his toenails, or she, and here's the inside of what he looked like a little bit. But this guy died, and then his shell, somebody found his shell, and we were able to use it for teaching, okay? So you can see the different designs on his, the back side of his carapace. These little bumps right here, alligators have these little bumps as well, and these bumps right here. Those are actually called scutes. Scute, S-C-U-T-E. Those are scutes. So this is an alligator snapping turtle. Then I wanted to show you, does anybody know what this is? I hold it up here. This is a snake. This is what's called, it's a snake skin. You're absolutely right. Snake skin. It's actually what we call a snake shed, meaning that the that the snake actually got rid of his old skin when he was growing the new skin, okay? So this guy, you can see the back side of it. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. I kind of like snakes. I think they're really awesome. I think this guy, you're probably going to ask me what the species is. I think this was probably a yellow rat snake. It's not a poisonous snake. Very good snake to have. We as humans also shed our skin. You're saying, no, Ranger Serena, I don't go like this. My skin doesn't just come all off. I know. But we shed our skin every day. And it just, sometimes it comes off as flakes. Sometimes when we take a shower, you don't realize how much of the old skin it's a process that a lot of different animals, including us as humans, in the mammals, you don't realize how much skin we actually get rid of. But anyway, that's really cool. Snake skin. And the reason I'm actually showing you all these things is because scientists out here actually study the different species. They study the reasons why some animal might have died, or they can get information off of the snake shed. The last thing I want to show you out here in the field is this skull. This is the skull of a bird called a great blue heron. See how big his eyes are? This bird stands pretty tall. He stands probably up to about my shoulders, maybe a little bit shorter. That's not him. That bird that just called is called a tricolored heron. But this guy's a little bit bigger model than that one is, but this one's called a great blue heron. And what do you think he eats with a bill like this? You're right, he eats fish. He's out there, oftentimes you'll catch him in the water, just standing there waiting for a fish to come along, and he eats fish. Well, he also eats frogs. He can eat a snake or two, depending on how big the snake is. But anyway, he mostly eats fish, but this is the great blue heron. So that concludes our outside portion, and to be able to show you the Everglades, that concludes the outside portion of the second grade lesson. Again, I'm Ranger Serena, and I thank you so much for visiting us at the Arthur R. Marshall Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge. We'd love for you to come on out and visit us. See ya! Bye-bye!